My proposal today was to discuss SanxingDui, which is a new discovery about um, China ancient time. But unfortunately, I don't find enough information to last for 1.5 hours. So I stuck in the Great Canal at the end. So today we're covering two issues. One is the archaeological site known as SanxingDui, and then about the Great Canal from China. SanxingDui, a three-star mound, is an archaeological site of the Bronze Age culture in modern Guanghan, Sichuan. Largely discovered in 1986, followed a preliminary finding in 1927. Archaeologists excavated artifacts that radiocarbon dating placed in 12th to 11th centuries BC. So it is almost 3,000 years old site. The type site for SanxingDui that produced these artifacts, archaeologists have identified the locale with the ancient kingdom of Shui. The artifacts are displayed in the SanxingDui museum. At the moment, the museum has about 3,000 items on display. In archaeology, a type site is a site used to define a particular culture or a unit, which is often named after it. So SanxingDui itself is not typical from what we can find from Chinese archaeological sites. Most Chinese archaeological sites are burial mounds, etc. But SanxingDui doesn't seem like a burial mound. It seems like a little village where people live. And then there's a lot of discovery, which is quite surprising in Chinese perspective. Shui is an ancient state, which is the current time in the Sichuan province. Shui is somewhere here. Yes, Shui. That's Song. Where's Shui? Let me make it larger. Shui. At those times, there was a lot of different kingdoms. So it is here. Shui. Okay, so this is the map. It's somewhere here. Shui. This one. It is in a Chengdu plain and western Sichuan basin with some extension northeast to the upper Han River Valley. Now, the Chinese geography is like that. It is high mountains on the west and sea level on the east. So China topology is high, and then there's a plateau, and then the sea level plain. And Shui here is in a plateau basin. So this is where we can find these archaeological sites. The Shu state was conquered by the state of Qin in 316, but the location there is radiocarbon dated much earlier, so it will be at least 1,000 years earlier. Recent archaeological discovery at SanxingDui and Jinsha thought to be sites of the Shu culture, indicated the presence of unique civilization in this region. The discovery of this site is a major surprise, since it indicates a major culture in the Neolithic China that was previously unknown. So in a way, this is quite surprising. These are some of the artifacts. This is discovered on site. Then when it is cleaned up, then we'll see a bit more about it. Okay, let's play this video first. Can you hear it? Oh no, let me stop and then we'll. Okay, share again. In the share, we'll optimize for video clip. Yes. Let me do it again. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
新发现了6个器物坑，已经提取文物数千件。相对来说呢，这次发掘呢就已经创立了非常好的条件。我们呢在现场建起了考古大棚和考古工作舱。就是我们的一些设施，很多设施呢就不是用在考古上的，比如我们现场的一些行架，就是我们可以在上面上下，就避免直接接触在坑里面。这对于我们现场文物保护来说，可以说是至关重要的，因为里面有很多脆弱的文物。我们还有其他的保护措施，比如这次发掘应该是创新性的，都穿上了防护服，避免我们身上的一些毛发或者灰尘啊落入坑内污染样品。至于有人说它是外星文明，当然我们肯定不这么认为。我们知道三星堆这个遗址是前后延续了很长时间，从距今4800年一直到距今2600年，也就是这个遗址一直沿用了2200年。其中这几个坑是三星堆文化最晚阶段的，也就是距今3200年左右。这个年代在整个的中国青铜时代处于什么样的阶段呢？就是商代的晚期。这个时候在中原，在安阳、殷墟时期，已经有大量的青铜器被铸造出来了。无论从青铜器的铸造技术还是精美程度来说，客观的说，三星堆的青铜器肯定是不如中原地区的精美的，铸造水平也是更低的。但为什么三星堆这么神秘、这么引人注意呢？是在于这个文化有它的独特性，它的很多器物造型是在其他地方所没有见到过的。三星堆的青铜器又极具视觉冲击力和震撼力，就披上了一层神秘的面纱。其实呢，随着我们三星堆考古工作的不断深入，随着我们认识的越来越细致， 我觉得这层神秘的面纱可能会慢慢的被揭开。
Okay, this video is from South China Morning Post, as you can see here. Next one. Oh. View navigator, and then with this one. I'm going to show you this video as well to let you have a better understanding of the site. But one thing we pick up from the last video is that this civilization discovered here seems to be different from the traditional Chinese narrative, saying that Chinese originated from the Yellow River basin. This one is not near the Yellow River at all. It is more near the Yangtze River. So to the Chinese archaeologists, finding a site that old, almost 3,000 or 4,000 years old, but not recorded in Chinese written history. So that becomes a surprise in a way.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me go back to here and then play you this another video.
Hey guys, so I'm back in Sichuan again, but this time I'm not here to film pandas, I'm not here to film Sichuan Hong Kong, it's all been done before. I'm here on a quest to rediscover an ancient civilization. Let's go.
Big words I know, but hear me out. In order to uncover the past, I'm heading to the present-day capital of Sichuan province, Chengdu, and the nearby city of Guanghan, where our story begins. Nurtured by the fertile Chengdu plains, for millennia this area has been a center of human activity. But it wasn't until recently that archaeologists discovered something incredible here. The remains of a hitherto unknown civilization. Every story has a humble beginning, and ours takes us back to 1929, when a farmer digging a ditch stumbled upon a remarkable cache of jade and stone artifacts. Experts would identify the site as belonging to a city more than 3,000 years old, SanxingDui. Today, only a hillock marks the site, where in 1986, archaeologists made another startling discovery. Inside two sacrificial pits, they found a treasure trove of jade, bronze and gold. They were particularly struck by dozens of cast bronze faces, some the size of a small car. They've been made with a complexity and style never before seen in China. They'd found the Bronze Age city of SanxingDui.
Here we go guys, this is SanxingDui. There's the museum over there, and over there is the excavation site where they found this most mysterious civilization.
When they excavated the sacrificial pits, they found that many of the items inside had been deliberately burnt, some beyond recognition. Which begs the question, why?
Very cheeky. You're going around the back.
Oh, I'm actually kind of nervous. Oh my god.
Beneath my feet lay riddles that challenged our understanding of the Bronze Age in China. Buried here were artifacts that were more refined than anything previously found anywhere in the country. But where did the SanxingDui people get the resources and the know-how to create them? Whose were the bronze faces? And why did they look so alien? To solve this mystery would be to redefine the origin of Chinese civilization. North of the excavation site is the museum where I begin my quest proper. Here we are, my key to unlocking all the mysteries here.
Turn it off.
The oldest archaeological finds in China date from the Shang dynasty, which came to power in the 2nd millennium BC, centered on the Yellow River Valley, 1,000 kilometers northeast of here. Experts were astonished to discover that another civilization had been flourishing at roughly the same time in this remote part of the country.
Welcome to one of China's greatest mysteries, SanxingDui.
Displayed inside the museum's 2 exhibition halls are complete collections of the relics unearthed at SanxingDui. They reveal a previously unknown world, filled with seemingly strange beliefs and stranger people. Close to 1,000 bronzes have been found at SanxingDui. Most, it appears, were used in rituals. Yet before the discovery of SanxingDui, the only Bronze Age sites in the world that had ever yielded such life-sized bronze statues, masks, and heads were found in Greece and Egypt. This was a first for China. So who were these enigmatic people? And where did they come from? Wow, look at you. Wow. Most say it's the eyes that draw you in. Those long, snail-like windows to the soul of this lost civilization.
What a mysterious face. You know, this was the largest bronze mask of its time. But its face is full of mysteries, full of secrets. How did they make it? Where is this mask from? Who made this mask?
And perhaps most important of all, why did they make it?
There are a lot of theories and nobody knows for sure, but some experts say that this mask was cast in the likeness of one of the legendary kings of SanxingDui, a semi-mythical figure called Cantong. He supposedly had protruding, bulging eyes, but here the eyes are exaggerated. They come out, they jut out of the face, as if to say, I can see everything. And the ears, they grow out from the side of the head, as if to say, I can hear everything. I am the Almighty God of SanxingDui.
Much of China's most ancient history is grounded in myth, but at SanxingDui, some facts have been identified behind the fable. We know now that it was the capital of the Kingdom of Shu, a southern rival to the powerful Shang dynasty in the north. It was a time when Stonehenge was going up in Britain, when the alphabet was still in its infancy. A time coinciding with Homer's Troy, once thought legend, now confirmed as true. Coming up next, we explore the theme of power and the intimate link it formed between SanxingDui and the sun. In this episode of Travelogue, I'm on the hunt for one of China's greatest mysteries, the lost civilization of SanxingDui. These are not typical of Bronze Age China. The much bigger, supposedly more powerful Shang dynasty rarely made masks, and when they did it was just for decoration. These are the products of belief, symbols of power. Who are you? Primal and benevolent, with eyes that penetrate. When they discovered SanxingDui, they found close to 60 of these incredible bronze heads. They're over 3,000 years old, and yet they're so intricately cast. But I think probably the most striking feature of these heads are the eyes and the noses. They look neither Chinese nor do they look Western. Some people even say they look alien. But probably the most impressive of these bronze heads were the ones that they found covered in gold leaf. For the Egyptians, gold was the color of the gods, the embodiment of the sun. The Greeks thought it indestructible and immutable. For gold was a rare resource, and only the most important relics were gilded. Though these heads look similar, there are subtle differences. A headband here, pierced earlobes there. Perhaps they represented the ethnic groups that made up SanxingDui society. One thing, however, is safe to assume. These heads represented people in the highest echelons of the ruling elite. Experts believe that these heads represented the shamans who held positions of authority in SanxingDui's theocratic society, but interestingly, 6 of them were found with gold leaf plastered over the face. The thing is, China doesn't really use gold. During that time, ancient Egypt used gold, ancient Greece used gold, but so far to this day, these are the only gilded bronze masks to be found in China. A vast sea of faces, staring until the end of time. Wow. Now this important person, especially standing down here and looking up at him, which is how he would have been intended to have been seen. Back when he was made, he was the tallest bronze statue of a human, and in his oversized hands, some have said he would have held a ritual vessel or perhaps an elephant's tusk, which means that he would have been incredibly important. Perhaps he was actually the shaman and leader of SanxingDui, and this statue is a testament to his power. The great leader of Shu, a shaman king who could communicate with the gods. Indeed, this was not an uncommon concept. For more than 2,000 years, the emperors of China believed they were the sons of heaven, as did the god kings of Egypt. But who were his gods? Vroom, vroom, vroom. Well, it could have been a really big car, but what we do know is that this is a bronze sun wheel, and during the time of SanxingDui, sun worship was prevalent across the world because it was at a time when agriculture was becoming the main form of survival for many people. And here in SanxingDui, the sun motif can be found on relics such as the bronze birds, the shamans, and headdresses. And the message is clear: humans working together with nature. During the Bronze Age, the sun became the most important deity, a symbol of life and fertility, worshipped by all the great civilizations. At SanxingDui, intricate bronze altars have been found along with kneeling human figures. These probably represent shamans or high-ranking ministers and would have featured in the most important rituals. Their posture suggests they were giving offerings to the gods, or perhaps they themselves were the offerings. Well, that's actually a pretty faithful rendition of one of the relics dug up at SanxingDui. Obviously this one's significantly bigger than the original, but it gives us a good idea of the atmosphere and the majesty of the rituals that could have taken place at SanxingDui. Many ritual weapons were uncovered from the sacrificial pits, but no human remains were found, only the charred bones of pigs, sheep, and oxen. Interestingly, some of the masks were found with traces of cinnabar and black pigment on them. Did this suggest they were bringing them to life? Interesting. Well, I wonder what actual rituals were like back in the days of SanxingDui. But this is a pretty good representation, I think. You always wonder what their rituals would have looked like. What these shamans, I guess, would have looked like with their masks on. Hey, 你们好。刚才跳的应该挺累的吧？可是舞蹈还是很生动的。
谢谢。
您是老师是吧？
对。
哇，这个舞蹈的灵感是从SanxingDui这里来的吗？
对，他一定是从SanxingDui来的。哦。这10多年来，也就一直对他充满着爱。
哦，10多年了。
对。
那确实挺久的。那每次跳这个舞都会有变化吗？还是？
对啊，因为每次的感受、心里的感悟都不一样。哦。你看这个孩子就是从小一直跟我们跳SanxingDui。
对，从几岁就开始跳SanxingDui的舞蹈了，跳了10多年，一直都特别的喜欢。
哇，那你们四川这儿还有别的类似于这种戴面具的舞蹈吗？
有戴面具的舞蹈，但跟我们SanxingDui是没有比较联系的。
那咱们还是独有的。
对，独有的。
很厉害。行，那我就不打扰你们休息了啊。Coming up next, I explore the ingenuity of SanxingDui's craftsmen and wonder if they had any help from the outside. We now know that SanxingDui was once the biggest city in southern China. it was even bigger in scale than Babylon, the most populous city in the world at the time. It was a seat of power, rivaling that of the Shang dynasty's own capital in the Yellow River Valley. This was the political, commercial, and spiritual hub of the Kingdom of Shu.
我们现在站的这个地方就叫月亮湾，它和南边的这个三星堆遥遥相望，也就是清代汉州志里面记载的三星半月堆。
Yueliangwan was the northern district of SanxingDui city.
然后这一面就是月亮湾城墙，文化层非常丰富，它也是整个三星堆古城的核心区域之一。
这个就是城墙了，是吗？
你看它现在高出这个台地，它这个就是人工从下面一层一层夯起来的，都是自然形成的。是这么
这一整块都是城墙，是吗？
这个是宽度。
It was here in 1929 that a farmer would stumble upon the lost city of SanxingDui.
这是1999年，解剖的月亮湾城墙的一个发掘断面。
这个就是原来城墙的样子。
对。哇，这是考古发掘，把它切了，留下的这个坡面。哇，就是了解这个城墙的结构。
SanxingDui reached the height of its power around the 2nd to 1st millennium BC. However, scientists believe the area was populated as far back as 5,000 years ago. The evidence is in the wall.
It is incredibly impressive to see this ancient city wall in the flesh. It's over 3,000 years old, and of course, now it just looks like a very high pile of mud and dirt, but back in the days they would have required so much effort, manpower, and the know-how to build something this high.
Earthenware was the hallmark of a developing civilization, and on some of it was found primitive script, the first signs of a written language.
For many, it was the bronzes that made SanxingDui famous, but in fact, it was jade that caused this place to be found in the first place. But for ancient Chinese people, jade wasn't necessarily one kind of stone. As long as the stone was precious and beautiful enough, it would be called jade, because they thought that it had the ability to communicate with the divine. And at SanxingDui they found loads of jade ritual objects, from circular discs to weapons shaped like daggers and blades for sacrificing to the heavens, to the mountains, and to the earth.
The ancients believed jade was the universe condensed. The discovery of so much jade, close to 1,000 pieces, suggests SanxingDui was just as sophisticated as the Shang dynasty.
这个三星堆的象牙也出土了很多。这个上面你看，是2号技术坑初阶状态下的，但是因为当时的这个象牙不好保存，出土的时候已经碳化了。这个地方能够出土这么多象牙，可能给它的商贸有关系。三星堆它出土的很多数量的这个海贝。那么这个海贝它有根据鉴定，有一种是印度洋的深海贝。海贝啊，它是作为商贸的货币，是吧？就说在历史上，至少在这个三星堆文化时期，有一条通道，就是说连接印度洋和古苏国、连接成都平原的一条商道。这条道路也就是我们今天学界所说的南方丝绸之路。
A link between SanxingDui and the West? What a tantalizing thought.
Can you guess what this is?
This was the ultimate symbol of power, a gold staff. Nothing like it had ever been seen before. It would have shone like the sun. The detail is so exquisite, it's thought it could only be reproduced today using laser etching. Some people say this staff had more to do with Near East civilizations, like Mesopotamia and Egypt, than China. So, was there a connection?
When experts first found this, they had no idea what it was. They thought it was a gold belt, because in China, the traditional symbol of authority has always been a bronze vessel called a ding. Staves were things of the West. To find such a staff in China is a complete anomaly.
How they were able to learn such advanced craftsmanship is likely to forever remain a mystery.
What a masterpiece!
This is the magnum opus of SanxingDui. A divine tree at the center of their world. On its branches, 9 birds, symbols of the sun.
When this was first found, it was shattered into many pieces, and it took archaeologists an inordinate amount of time to put back the pieces of this puzzle. And when they did, they were able to rebuild this, the world's oldest and tallest bronze tree. It was SanxingDui's very own stairway to heaven. It was their Tower of Babel. The birds and the tree, they were mediums to communicate with the very gods themselves. And the craftsmanship was so exquisite that today, standing here, I still feel the same kind of awe, respect, and solemnity as I would have felt 3,000 years ago.
Almost every ancient civilization in history had a sacred tree. For some, it represented life, while for others, it was their very world. A Han Dynasty text, some 2,000 years old, refers to a legendary tree on which sat 10 birds. Each day, one would fly into the sky and become the sun. When SanxingDui's tree was finally put together, the top was missing. Was there once a 10th bird? Whatever their original intention, the meaning is clear. Statues of human legs with avian feet, man merging with nature. The story of SanxingDui is the story of southern China. Theirs was a tale of harmony and coexistence, the desire to become one with the gods. So, perhaps SanxingDui wasn't so alien after all. In fact, its people may have been quintessentially Chinese, their ideals going on to shape later beliefs like Taoism and the open-minded, cooperative mentality of southern China. Today, the name Shu still lives on as an abbreviated form of Sichuan province.
You know, I've had a thought that maybe it's not the religion but the land that influenced the way SanxingDui people work with nature, and perhaps continues to influence the lifestyles of Sichuanese people today. All right, brother, let's take you home. Funny sometimes, isn't it? That some of the world's greatest archaeological discoveries were simply down to serendipity. Nobody could expect that so many years ago, a farmer digging his own irrigation system would uncover a lost civilization that would change the face of Chinese history forever. And it was simply down to a bronze mask.
Okay, let's go back to the slides. Most of the material has already been shown in the video. It's just some recap. 1986, local workers discovered a plate with gold, bronze, jade, pottery, etc., etc. And then taking it out, we find more and more and more, and eventually it's now known as the SanxingDui. Whether it was the name at that time, we don't know, but anyway, it is what it's called today. In March 2021, about 500 cultural relics, including 3,000 years old gold mask, were discovered within this area. I'm more eager to show you the gold mask. And it's the SanxingDui people I worship. Now, this is not the gold mask, although it is coated with gold, but we do find a gold mask by itself. Here it is. It is a gold mask. I don't know whether this is detached from something, but this thing is made in gold. And here are some of the images that is displayed in the video. Obviously, these are taken by the museum's staff, so they are of much better photographic quality. There's a J blade, this thing, and there are the marks from the blade itself. So this blade has been carved quite intricately, and this is the tree mentioned in the video as well. This is the big one, the big mask, and somehow they make a very sharp square here, which is quite interesting. And the fault line here is pretty strict, but not exactly the tip of the nose. Some other photographs of the relics that's discovered in SanxingDui. Here's another one of that J type of we don't know what this is, maybe shawl or something else. This ancient culture has a well-developed bronze casting industry. So they come up with some of the oldest life-size standing human statue, 3.6 meter high, weighing 180 kilograms. And there are other bronze trees with birds, flowers, ornaments, etc. So how this little culture can get us so much copper or bronze is still a mystery. Many of these artifacts have eagle-like builds, tigers, etc., etc. There's a lot of different relics discovered in this peak. Okay, this part is for the SanxingDui. I will stop here first and let you ask some questions before we enter into the second part of the presentation about the Great Canal. Anyone have any questions you can unmute yourself and then ask the question. Yes, please.
Albert, what is thought to have been the economic power of that civilization? Was it?
At that time, China is divided into different kingdoms. And so we believe this is the Shui kingdom. This Shui kingdom, the historical record only mention about the Qin eventually conquered it in about 300 BC. We didn't realize that it was dating back so long. Looking at the carbon dating, this kingdom has existed for over 2,000 years before it is being conquered. So there's still a lot of things we don't know about it. And that's why this is a particular hot topic at the moment in China about our past. So sorry, I can't answer your question exactly. What are the economic drivers there? But from the some of the discovery there, as mentioned in the video, we have shells which are indigenous to the Indian Ocean. So probably it will have long-term trade with the southeast. Is that southeast? Yes. Including, for example, maybe at that times people in India or in Vietnam, etc. And we suppose one of the trading items might be tea, because tea is much older than 4,000 years in China. But what else we don't know. Maybe they also trade the bronze, given that they mix such a good bronze. So maybe sometime later on, when we discover some other bronze items elsewhere, then we can match whether it is made in China or those bronze items actually made somewhere else and then brought to China. We don't know yet.
Albert, they had a written language.
Yes, they have a written language. We discovered some prototypical language there. It is being trying to decipher to see what they mean. But the one which is so in the video is actually the word shu itself. So maybe that is the reason why we in historical time we always call this region Shu. Maybe, but there are other relics. I think they are still trying to decipher what that means.
Albert, if we go back to the map that you showed us at the start, can we do that?
Yeah. This one?
We can't see it. You're not sharing it.
Oh, sorry. This one. Share. Okay, so you want to, which part you want to see? See again?
I want the map. I want you to show us the map you showed us at the start. The yellow, the big yellow map.
Okay. Oh, let me give it
Not that one. No, not that one.
Not that one. Okay.
No, the map. The map of China.
Oh, the map of China. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just change this. The map of China.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Albert, the heavy black lines, those ones there, do they represent? Yes, that's right. Do each of those black areas represent a province, as we would know the name?
No, this is more than a province. This marked line will represent the boundary line of the Chu dynasty.
Right. Rather than
and
a province.
The dynasty
okay.
is approximately 3,000 years old.
Okay, then what's the relevance of the major states, the tier 2 states, and the tier 3 states?
Okay, let me just magnify this one. Now, Chu is the dynasty, and in that dynasty, the king will have different smaller kingdoms. These are small kingdoms, which all pay tribute to the Chu dynasty. So this is the emperor, put it that way. And then there's little kingdom all over the different places. The first emperor, Qin, is originally in this area. And eventually, Qin conquered all the other small kingdoms like Shu here, Tang here, Deng here, Shan here, conquer all this, and then eventually becomes the United China. So this map doesn't represent the modern China. The modern China is actually much larger than that one. That will represent probably up to maybe Xinjiang, maybe somewhere here. Tibet, maybe a little bit over here. Looking at the river, this river here is the Yangtze River. And this river up there, rounding down and going to the sea, is the Yellow River. So we always believe that because Zhao is here, the Zhao dynasty. So we think, Chinese are coming from in the Yellow River region. But somehow, far away there, we find the SanxingDui in this area, closer to the Yangtze River than to the Yellow River. And then we also know that some of the shells discovered here come right down from right down there. So there must be some kind of commerce from here to India, in the region of India and so forth. So we don't know about that.
And Albert, in today's modern world, on that map, where would Shanghai be?
Shanghai will be somewhere here.
Somewhere there, right, okay.
Yeah, that will be Shanghai.
And Beijing, somewhere up there?
Somewhere here, yeah.
Right, okay,
yeah.
Right, thanks. Yeah, that puts it in some perspective, yeah. That's good, thank you.
Okay.
Good, Albert?
Yes.
When historians pick on major advances in civilization, so the use of materials and the intricacy in which they're used, and language and transport and all those things, when they place those on a timeline for, say, Western civilization, which I suppose Egyptian, Greek, Roman, that sort of timeline, and do the similar thing for East China in particular, is it possible to identify some advances that were clearly done first in the West or first in the East, or or was done in the West and picked up in the East very, very quickly through movement of people? How do those timelines match up in general, dear? I mean, it's a very difficult question to answer.
Now, SanxingDui is about 4,000 to 3,000 years old. So Roman Empire is about 2,000. Now, Roman Empire collapsed in 500 AD. It lasts about 1,000. Is that about 2,000 years? So about 1,500 BC will be the beginning of the Roman Empire. That will be the Roman city. And before that, obviously, we have the Egyptian civilizations and then the Greek civilizations. So SanxingDui probably will match with the Greek civilization, I would say, where when they is that
yeah. I guess one direct question is where did bronze first appear? Is it in the west or the east?
I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Here is 4,000 years ago, so we need to look at the Western discovery where they have the bronze. Yeah, maybe I can do a quick search to answer this question.
I'm sure those timelines must be around somewhere, but I've never seen them.
Okay, let me just bronze age. So when is the bronze age? Very quickly from Wikipedia, see whether I can find an answer. Bronze Age about 3,000 BC.
Yeah.
1,000 BC, and this one is about 2,000 BC. So this one is not the oldest. SanxingDui is not oldest. Some other the Bronze Age 3,300 BC. Is that? Have we tell it where? Let me share this screen. Okay, so I changed the share screen to another one. Okay, share screen. This one. Okay, this is Wikipedia. From the Wikipedia, from the very beginning. It says the Bronze Age is approximately 3,300 BC to 1,200 BC. That is characterized by the use of bronze and some photo writing. So that too also matches with the SanxingDui. We see some photo mapping, and then we see very large bronze statues. So, okay. Anatolia. History. No. Okay, this is the timeline here. According to this timeline, okay, vertical is the timeline, is the time. And then horizontal is locations. So now the problem is the archaeological discovery from China has not been incorporated into the Western timeline. So probably we don't know. We don't have any idea. The early Bronze Age. What does it mean by early Bronze Age? The Hittite Empire is 18th century BC, but SanxingDui is about 20th century BC. So SanxingDui is a bit older. So in that case, maybe SanxingDui is okay. This one in ancient Egypt is 3,000 BC. So probably is the oldest we can find at the moment is in Egypt. Yeah, I think it's in Egypt. Okay.
But just following on from the fact that like China wasn't included in that timeline, it adds to the idea that, and maybe it's my fault, but I'd never heard of this discovery in China, and it was only 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah,
it's sort of just it's a good indication of how so self-obsessed we are in the West that.
Put it this way, China's modernized only in the last 40 years. So give them some time to discover more and then integrate into the global knowledge pool. It's just 40 years of modernization of China, put it that way. Yes, please.
Have they found many of the utensils used along with the masks and everything?
Yes, I think so. They are still digging. So there's a lot of things to be found. And then, of course, the more they dig, the deeper it is, the older they are.
Yeah.
So we have to wait for them to dig deeper to find what is ultimately underneath there. We don't know yet. Okay. If you don't mind, I still have half an hour. That will be sufficient to cover a little bit of something else. Is the Great Canal. Okay, so let me just share the screen again. Great Canal. The natural rivers will start from the west. This is the high plateau, the high area, and then gradually move to the sea. The upper one here is the Yellow River, and the middle one here is the Yangtze River, and Shanghai is at the mouth of the Yangtze River. And then there is a Pearl River down here, and the mouth there is Hong Kong. So there are 3 rivers, natural river system, mostly to the Chinese, flowing from the west to the east, the general direction of flow. But weather-wise, this is colder region, and this is the warmer region. Hong Kong is a subtropical area. So the best produce is produced around Hangzhou in this region, in the Yangtze River region and the Yellow River region. These 2 areas is basically the green area is most of the produce. Traditionally, the land north of Yangtze River is considered the northern part of China, and the land which is the south of this Yangtze River is considered the southern part of China. Southern part of China, because of the climate, therefore, food produced at these 2 climate zones mature at different times. Typically, in the southern area, it will mature a bit earlier, and then later here in the north. Transporting goods on land is very expensive. If we can transport goods on river, it will be so much cheaper. The difference may be in the old times almost 9,000 folks. So it will make sense if some goods coming from here to actually go to the sea and venture up to move to area like Beijing and so forth. So it will make sense, because if we go through by route here, then it will be very expensive. So from the very early time, because of a war between different kingdoms, remember we just talked about Sichuan somewhere here, and the Shu is here, and the Qin is in this region right here. So there are different kingdoms all around here, and the kingdoms and themselves sometimes fight, sometimes cooperate, and therefore there is most of the kingdom will get rich by commerce. So they want to trade with different people. Trading means you move goods, and moving goods on land is so expensive. And moving troops on land is also expensive. For example, a kingdom here want to fight the kingdom here, then they have sent the troops to the sea, travel up the coast, and then attack from here. So for that reason, many emperor at that time, many kings at that time will consider whether we can dig up a canal to join natural rivers or join a natural ponds or pools and join them together. Although these are the main rivers, remember for any main river, there is a lot of branches. So if they can find a river branch, then it will be easy to join. So it has been happening long time ago. Okay, northern China dominated by the Yellow River is where the China proper is. But the staple crops of the northern China are wheat, corn, sorghum, and so forth. The Yangtze River is another region which produces a lot of rice, fish, and so forth. This is a infrared picture taken. This one is the Yangtze River, and this is the Lake Tai. And in between here is the most productive area of the whole China. Just south of this Yangtze River here is the most productive part of China. So a lot of time they want to shift this produce from here towards the north. Crossing the river is not a problem, but once you cross the river, you still have to find some way to go up. Of course, there's a lot of little river branches everywhere, little branches, but little branches only go up to that region. So historically, we have the Dai Yu, Yu the Great. He is famous for taming the river. At that time, the taming river is probably talking about the taming of the Yellow River. And that will be in our spring and autumn period, or 8th to 5th century BCE. And by about 3rd century BC, Qin is already very powerful, and it conquered Shu in around 3rd century BC. And at that time, the China's canal network was essential for the imperial taxation in kind. So the kings are already building canals in order to move the goods around the country. This is the Yu the Great. Okay, it's the legendary king. We don't know whether he exists or not, but we say that he is the one who tamed the flood situation. The way he did it is quite different from his father. This is during the time of Yu, and China has floods. His father, Gang, is in charge of devising a system to control the flooding, but it wasn't successful. So after his father died, he becomes responsible for taming the flooding. Instead of building dikes or the river banks in order to contain the water, he started using little smaller canals to divert the river into inlands in order to first as an irrigation for the food. At the same time, because you have a larger flooding plain, so the high mark of the water is much reduced and it becomes manageable. So he is considered one of those success. With that success, people starting to dig canals. Initially, mostly for irrigations, but later on become bigger and bigger, and then becomes big canals which can move goods. This is in the Chui. Chui is approximately around 10 AD, around that time, just immediately after the first emperor. First emperor is about 300 BC. Chui should be about 200 BC. These are the curly blues like this are the natural rivers, and these darker blue are the canals. At that time, the center of everything is in the today's Xi'an. Xi'an is the capital at that time. Beijing is somewhere here. Okay, it's only moved here in the Ming Dynasty about 400 years ago. But most of the time, the Chinese capital is here, and these are different kingdoms. One kingdom here, another kingdom here. The two kingdoms want to trade, and they have to dig a canal. So there are different canals everywhere. You see a number here. The number represents the year it is dig. So this canal, this one refers to this canal. This one is dig in 608 AD. This one 605 AD. This one 610 AD. This one 605 AD, and this one is 584 AD. These are the time the canals are dig. Choi is not a very long dynasty, very short, only 37 years, but it dig the most canal in all dynasty. These are the deep. All these are dig by the Choi. One of them is called Han Kao. This one, okay, in Chinese, this is all Han Kao. So where it is dig in our spring and autumn warring times is 647 BCE. Han Kao. Yangtze River here, it dig a canal from a branch river flowing into the Yellow River, join here, and then dig up right to up here, joining the Yellow River. So the Yellow River and the Yangtze River has been connected for over 2,000 years. This is a canal dig to join a branch of the Yangtze River with the Yellow River. It's dig in 486 BC. So this is other parts of the this one. This one is dig in this one. This part is this part here. This one. And then there are some even larger attempts. Today, these canals are still used today. In 214 BCE, the first emperor dig some, and then in 200 BCE, Zhu Han dig some, and then continues in the Shu dynasty, and then into the Song dynasty, and then into the this is the Ming dynasty. Okay, the Ming emperor set up a transport office to move goods. The amount of goods are moved at those days. So that is 1368. Is 8.2 million bushels in today's unit. Huge amount of goods are moved in the canals. The Ming dynasty continued digging, another rivers network continued digging. So the Great Canal is actually dig throughout all the centuries. To the Qing dynasty, the canal system mostly lost its advantage when railway becomes available. So once you have railway, the it moves much faster on a railway than boats on the canal. And up to now, most of the canal is driven by manpower. But in the Qing Dynasty, they started to have the steam engine, steam boats. So, but steamboat is much bigger, and therefore the canal system start to decay until the new China comes in. In particular, the Yellow River changed course in 1851 to 1855. And the change of course means there's a lot of changes, and therefore the canal go into disrepair. But recently, the whole canal is now fully operational because previously, the canals works by the Yellow River water flowing to the Yangtze River. That is the direction of water flow. But recently, the Chinese government reversed the water flow. Now, in the canal, the water is flowing from Yangtze River to the Yellow River because this is one way to supply water to the northern China. One of the most difficult canal ever dig is this Red Thread Canal, dig in 1965. It is not very long, only 71 kilometers long, but it is winding around the side of a cliff, which consists of 42 tunnels. Now, this canal is not big, very, very narrow. Only a small section is able to have a joy boat riding. Otherwise, you can just jump from one side of the canal to the other side of the canal. It's not a large canal, but it is one of the most difficult canal ever dig. The canal we are talking about is down here. And now it is also a tourist site. So we see they also take up some path on top in order for the tourists to have a look. It connects the Jiang River from Shanxi to Hebei, to nearby province. At that time, Hebei was in drought. People walk about 4 hours a day to get water and then 4 hours back just for 2 little bits of water. To them, without water, they are not going to survive. And during that time, not only China is experienced drought, it also almost at the beginning of the famine. So people are desperate for water. So eventually, they find that they can get water from this Jianghe. And then after a lot of discussions, the officers in the Shanxi province allow them to divert some water to Hebei. And then they start digging. And the whole thing takes 10 years to dig. 71 kilometers. The whole thing takes 10 years. But the initial first water from Jianghe to Hebei takes about 2 years, 2 to 3 years. They get the water in. Let me show you some of the surrounding. This is the Red Thread Canal, this one. Right in the middle of the mountain. Right in the middle of that mountain. It is not big, very narrow, okay? Very, very narrow. It run and run and run and run and run. And the high point is on the left, the low point on the right. This is another natural river. They are not talking about taking river from here because this is lower than the target. So they have to go through mountains in order to supply water to villages up there. This is the widest part of that canal. You can see how wide it is. Okay, and this is the narrow part. The border here is just wide enough for people to walk on. If there are two people walking opposite, one of them have to go into the canal in order to let the other one pass. The canal is not very deep, just a few inches in this part. At that time, it is all manual. People hanging in ropes and then swinging towards the rocks in order to hit the rocks. Okay, and they are hitting the rocks like this. This one is the one before, and they dig tunnel around the rocks and on the cliff. Let me show you this video. Okay, these are the parts which tourists can go to. There are some other parts of this canal. It is not accessible by tourists, but the local people do have to walk along the canal almost every week once in order to make sure it is not blocked, in order to let the water continue to flow. So a very quick diversion into the canal system, in China. Questions?
Can we see that video again, please?
Sorry?
Can we see that video again of the tourists walking along?
Yep, okay. Just hang on. Let me just get this. Share. Come on, Douyin. So it is not long.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it is an incredible achievement. But
there's
desperate.
Albert, there's a longer video of that same construction. Runs for about a full 5 minutes, and it's really worth trying to get hold of it. It's an incredible piece of building. You want to see them hanging off this rock face. No, I mean, just by ropes. No protection, and it's thousands of meters down. And it's just an amazing piece of construction. But it goes for about 5 minutes. Fascinating, really.
Yeah. Okay, I will find that out and then maybe pay it next term for you guys. I have a whole series of Chinese drama about this Red Thread Canal. 50 episodes of 45 minutes. And in Mandarin, I don't think you want to see this, but I will. I watched about 28 episodes already. About half.
And what's it about, Albert?
Sorry, it's called the Red Thread Canal.
And what's it about?
About the people at that time desperate to have water, and how they actually gathered together about 71,000 people working on this project. All manual, no machine at that time. Sheer human power. It's incredible. At the beginning, they think, okay, it is only 71 kilometers. So if we gather 71,000 people, 10 people for 1 kilometer, it's easy. But it's not.
Incredible.
Albert, do you know how many people died in the process?
I think a few people died, not much. A few, so far when the watching that drama documents up to about 28 episodes, nobody died yet. So I have to watch the whole thing to see how many people actually die.
Right.
Okay, anyway.
Thank you, Albert.
Thank you so much. And the next term, we will be back for another 3 different topics on China. Let me see whether I can find the topic names next term. Oh, not here. U3A 2022 and the plan. Okay, open up. Come on. Okay, next year we will talk about Chinese innovations. In particular, I will cover 3 topics: agricultural industry, renewable energy, and infrastructure. So we'll be on about the Chinese.
Great.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. We'll
Thank
see you.
Thanks, Albert. Really good.
Thanks, Albert.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.